That's the sound of a new meeting, a new year. Where we are back.
2 weeks or
Yeah,
3 weeks seem like forever. I
it
tell you,
does.
that's
It
good time
does.
though. Hope everybody had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New
Yeah,
Year. It's 2025. Welcome back to the 2025 version of Live Feed Reads. I'm Paul Reed, your host. The Ed McMahon to my Johnny Carson, Jason Crawford with you.
hey, hey,
Got a little
I'm
voice
back.
issue. Don't know if he's
Yeah,
sick or he's just screaming, howling at the moon
yeah,
over the New Year's. But either
that's it.
way,
That's it.
welcome back to those in TV land. So here's the deal.
Yeah,
Of course, obviously, every January 1st, there are several new laws that take effect in the state
yes,
of Florida. A lot of them, kind of don't really make any noise, so to speak, because they don't really affect everybody's day-to-day lives. One of the laws, by way of example, is called the HALO law. And basically what it means is if you are asked by a first responder, ambulance, fire, police, etc., to stand back, then you have to stay 25 feet away from them. And basically the theory is let me do my job without, you being in my face.
yeah. Interesting.
Okay, so that one was just one. There's a voter registration applications law, and I evidently it's somehow, some way, when the individuals in charge of voting update or change things, maybe your address or otherwise, somehow or sometimes it can change you from like a Republican to an independent or a Democrat
Oh,
to an independent. There must
okay.
be a glitch in some of these systems, and it can change you to no party affiliation, things of that
Interesting.
nature. So evidently, like everything, the government felt the need to make sure that that doesn't happen to you.
All right.
And I guess you say, well, what's it matter? Well, Florida has a closed primary. If you vote Republican in the primaries, you can only vote for the Republican parties trying to make it up their way through to the
Interesting.
national stage or the state government. And if
Okay.
you're a registered Democrat, you can only vote for the Democrats that you want to win. And if you're not, if you have no party affiliation, well, you can vote for neither one. So that's kind of how
Okay.
that works.
Hmm.
My assumption is that uh, one party or the other, obviously the Republican parties are in charge of the state of Florida with a supermajority, don't want that to happen.
Hmm.
All right. So those are a couple. The one that there's some with building regulations, obviously because of the past hurricanes, they're tightening up some of the restrictions on buildings. That's probably a
Hmm.
good thing.
It's
Medical
interesting
uh,
because,
medical
sorry.
treatment under workers' compensation. They're giving the doctors more money to handle those types of cases and to
Okay.
treat those types of patients. And also, those doctors, obviously, in workers' compensation matters, there is
Hmm.
litigation involved, and so the depositions go from let's see, providers who give a deposition 200 to 300 per hour or 300 per day for an expert witness who's never provided blah, 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 blah. So either way, they're just giving them a little
Hmm.
more money to participate in the workers' compensation law.
Okay.
What's it mean to you? Healthcare providers in those situations will make more money. That's the bottom line. Uh,
Yeah.
there's issues with dental insurance, uniform fiduciary, and just a lot of different laws that, again, we're not going to get into there. But there is a
Okay.
biggie. There is a
Okay.
real biggie.
Okay.
It's the House Bill 3, and it's called the
HB3.
Online Protection for Minors. And you
I
might
remember
say,
this one.
well, what is that? Is that a Grady Judd trying to save children from sexual predators throughout the country? No, it's not, which is a noble cause, obviously, but that's not what
Mhm.
the Online Protections for Minors is.
Yeah.
What it does, the Online Protection for Minors Act, so it took effect January 1st, but is already on hold because there was a lawsuit filed to
Oh,
prevent this statute from taking effect. It blocks anyone in Florida under the age of 14 from having a social media account. It requires adult consent or parental consent for anyone 14 to 15 years old. That's pretty big.
Yeah. Was it
So
14 or 16?
no, this requires adult consent for 14 or 15-year-olds. 16 and above, they're still free to spend the 7 to 10 hours a day. Yes, I said a day on social media platforms. The tweens, which is
Yeah.
what this was meant to, who this was meant to protect. Basically, they call them tweens. I've learned this all during the research.
Mm-hmm.
Say the eight to 13-year-olds under the age of 30, 8 to 13-year-olds from spending an inordinate amount of time on social media. And you know what social media is: Instagram, YouTube. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think the kids do Facebook, Snapchat. I mean, the list goes on and on and
Yeah.
on of social media. TikTok.
Yeah.
I
TikTok is
don't.
definitely one they're targeting
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
so uh,
I'm not sure that Snapchat fits the definition,
doesn't
but
matter. I don't think a lot of 18 to
I don't think they're using
13
that
year
one
olds. It's
much.
probably more TikTok,
Yeah.
Instagram, whatever. Either way,
Yeah.
whether it
Yeah.
does or doesn't, it's going to either do away with theoretically that their time on the old internet and social media or not. But
Sure.
I was shocked to say the least when I did some research, and again, I take research online for granted or for what it's worth, but evidently, if you go to enough sites, you get a pretty good range as to how much time these kids spend online. And of course, you obviously right now my phone's listening to me, so they can track you and
Yep.
your usage and your IP and your phone and your internet, so they have an idea of the age group they're dealing with and how long they spend on online. Uh, Jason, what is your guess for the 18 to 13 year olds? The average daily online usage for tweens 18 to 30, 8 to 13.
I think it's going to be difficult to say, but I would probably say somewhere between total time spent. I would say somewhere between
Well,
two
wait,
and
that's not
six.
counting if they do schoolwork. This
Right.
does
This would
not
be
count
like leisure
in
leisure time.
schools and any schoolwork done. This is strictly, playing
Yeah.
around, so to speak.
And it depends. So like when they do these studies, they try to skew based off of whatever it is, whatever agenda
I wasn't
is
getting all deep
they're trying
into
to
it. I
push.
went to like 10
I
different
would
sites.
say,
I took there's the
yeah,
maximum was up here, the
yep,
minimum was down here.
yeah, yeah.
To take the
Somewhere
old
between 2 and 6
the
would be my
mean
guess.
in mode
Yep.
mathematics that these kids know nothing about because they spend so much time on the internet. So when
Yeah.
you ask him what's the mean,
Right.
median, they'd be like, "What do you mean the commode?"
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No, so
anyway,
I'm thinking that they're probably statistically found 2 to 6 hours, but it's probably closer to 12 to 18 in my opinion.
fair enough. Yeah, they said the average 18 to 12-year-old is 4.8 hours after you do. They did a high of about 7.
Yeah.
The low was about 2.5. And
Yeah.
then when you do it, so either way,
It
five
really depends on
hours.
whether you count things like Netflix and streaming services as
Nope.
also.
That
Yeah.
was that is not in the definition of
Right.
social.
Because
Like,
not on social media, but
we're not talking
online.
TV
Okay.
or radio,
Yeah. Yeah.
streaming. So we're
Yeah.
talking your TikToks,
You're
the
okay. So you're just talking social media use.
4.8, 5 hours. Now, mind you,
That's a full-time job. Eight
if
hours.
these young lads and ladesses were to study 5 hours a day, well, maybe you wouldn't have to do away with the SAT or the ACT as a measuring
I don't
device
know.
because they do
I
pretty
don't know.
well on it. But
I don't
because they're
know.
spending 5 hours a day on TikTok, I don't know that the animal kingdom and whatever it is on TikTok is on the
Yeah,
SAT, the ACT.
I can
I think
definitely say that the Crawford
reading and
house.
math are on those two tests, but we need to get
Yeah,
those tests because, hey, our kids are on social media 5 hours a day.
yeah, yeah.
Unbelievable.
I can
And
definitely say that the
of
Crawford
course,
house is skewing
yeah,
the stat.
the lawsuit was filed immediately.
Okay, okay.
And who do you think filed it? One might ask.
Um, What do you mean by who? Like the
Well, like
company or
an entity or a person or, there's always a plaintiff. The plaintiff has to be
yeah,
somebody or something.
yeah. I don't
Well,
um I don't know. I have no clue.
the two largest social media platforms in America.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Facebook and TikTok.
why would they want the 18 to 12-year olds or 13-year olds, I should say, to be on their, there you go, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok,
No, I'm
money.
not playing the smallest
No,
violin.
no, no.
This is
It's
money.
all about money. It's
Son,
that simple.
100%.
Right. And
100%.
then evidently, some parents are also against the law.
Hmm.
I don't know why you would be,
Hmm.
other than I could say things that I'm not going to.
Well,
But
okay, so pause for a second
yep.
because initially when the bill released, it was HB1 and the
Okay.
governor vetoed it because it needed to go through some edits. One of the edits that they made to it was the wording for the focus of it, not necessarily banning students or young people from accessing it, minors, but rather the burden of responsibilities on the companies. They are um, what's the word, regulated from entering into a contract with the minor. So the companies are the ones being regulated, which is why they're filing the lawsuits, and that
Yeah,
makes
yeah, I
perfect
did
sense.
say that
Yeah.
say just example, Instagram or TikTok or whomever has to
Mm-hmm.
proactively delete accounts that they think
Yes.
belong to minors, and
Yes.
then the individual has 90 days to dispute it and prove, yeah, no, you're really a 25-year-old or whatever.
Mm-hmm. But the way the media portrayed it was they're banning your children from social media. How dare they? So I can see
Well,
why some people, if they're not paying attention to what's going on, would really get caught up
well, that's
in that
why.
whirlwind.
Well, that's exactly.
Yeah.
They use social media to tell you what they want you to think and believe.
Wait, what?
You don't think they
Yes.
do?
Oh no, 100%. I'm being sarcastic. Sorry. Yes.
Well,
Absolutely.
here's what it says.
I found this
If
information on
you're on
social
social
media.
media, they
It's
say this
telling
is
me.
what it says, and you either
Yeah.
believe it or don't. Bottom line, it's really simple. If you're under the
Yeah.
age of 14, you can't have social media. If you're 14 or 15, you can have it. If your parents, an adult, just call it your parents' consent, and after that, then it's
Yeah.
business as usual.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. We'll see though.
Yeah.
Obviously, the attack on the law is First Amendment, or right to free speech.
Mm.
I just don't know
Ooh, that's interesting though.
how 8-year-olds and 9-year-olds and 10-year-olds and 11-year-olds and 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds, this is not free speech. They're not out
No,
there
but that's a very interesting twist.
picketing for union jobs. They're not
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
there voting for the government. I mean, I'm not saying 8-year-olds don't have the right to free speech, but I'm saying eight
Sure.
year olds don't have the right to free speech.
Well, that argumentation though is going to have a cascading effect because if their argument is freedom of speech, they're going to have to argue that it's public domain, that it's basically the quintessential online town square because private property, freedom of speech is not covered on
Well,
private property.
that is an ongoing argument that they've been making
Yes,
forever.
but it's
I
a
mean,
concession if they're going to argue, if they're going to be the ones making the
have
argument.
your cake and eat it too, and so
Yeah,
either way, to be interesting. At some
it's
point,
going to be very interesting.
Ed McMahon and I, Johnny Carson, will be telling you how the courts rule. I will tell you,
Yes, yeah,
uh, there's already one law that Florida had passed after the 2020 election against Facebook et al. For removing basically Republican or conservative views and topics and conversations,
censorship, right,
yeah, from their websites. And the argument was, we're not a public forum, we're a private company, and we can basically
right,
do what we want, when we want, how we want, things of that nature.
right.
The court sent it back to, the trial court judges, and it was in Florida, which would be federal court judges, say, hey, y'all need to ferret out all this, and we'll talk to you later.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's
so
interesting.
it's an ongoing thing. about this social media and
Yeah.
Instagram and Facebook and everything else online. It's a brave new world.
Yeah.
And so that should be interesting. And so, like I said, at some point, we'll bring you updates whenever, more likely than not, each level, the appellate court, the trial court will rule at the federal level, the Supreme Court of the state of Florida, and on
Mm-hmm.
and on and on. And so, and we'll bring you up to speed on that.
It is
Interestingly enough, now I'm doing a little left-hand turn on you, Jason.
okay.
As I was reading this, um, if you're a connoisseur of adult entertainment online in the state of
Yeah,
Florida,
also impacted here.
yeah,
Yes,
you now have to have age verification.
that's right.
What is that? I was looking through and reading, and
It's probably not in the bill. They probably spelled it out in rules, but I
yeah, well,
haven't
it
fought.
says the age verification is not spelled out in the law. It states that a non-governmental independent third party offering the services cannot retain
Yeah.
blah 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 blah.
Yeah, so they use a third party. They can't do it themselves, I don't believe. I think they have to use a
Yeah.
third party and then
To do what
whatever
though?
inform huh?
What are your thoughts on how they verify age?
Um I don't know because I don't know what they're doing. I'd have to check
I mean,
rules.
obviously, here's my driver's license.
But they won't have one, right? Because
I
they're
don't
not
know.
16 or they don't have a learner's permit. So
Yeah. But either way,
a
that
student
one,
ID or
if
something
you're
like
a
that.
connoisseur of the adult entertainment online, good luck on trying to
Oh yeah, if you're of
go through
age, you
that
don't have to worry
landmine as
about it.
to whatever.
Yeah, go ahead and put your driver's license in and let them
Well,
track
can
what you're
you
watching.
imagine? Ugh. So anyway, uh, yeah, those two things. It's
That's
interesting,
wild.
right under the other. One was the Minor Online Protection for Minors Act, and the other one was
Hmm.
uh, same bill. Believe it or not, it's still HB3,
Yeah.
requires adult content websites to
Yep.
uh, verify your age.
Yeah, it's the Online Protection of Minors Act. So it's not
Yeah,
just social
so
media. Yeah.
yeah, all right. I guess that makes sense why it's under that same House bill. So all right. Well, anyway, that's
So a little piece of back history
go ahead.
to this. Because I remember we were running ads for Reed and Reed, and we were running ads for Crystal's books on Facebook. And this was a couple of years back. And I also remember teaching some digital marketing workshops to small business owners. And there was a couple of weeks around June, and I can't remember the year. I want to say it was like 2020 or 2021. Um, the Congress had met and decided to make it so that they couldn't target minors with any ads, period. So anyone under 18 could not be targeted with any form of advertising on the social media platform. So overnight, a lot of the tools that just had interests and information and stuff like that, and they weren't necessarily age gating the data, were suddenly um, ineffective. So we were spending money on ads and things like that, and they were coming back with nil results because immediately overnight killed the advertising stuff. They made a hard pivot.
We were trying to advertise and just throwing money in the crapper.
Yeah, and for about a
Right.
month, yeah, for about
Well,
a month there,
yeah.
we
Well,
stopped. No, we stopped
although
spending the
TV
ads.
world, yeah, we're not advertising on TikTok and Instagram or
No, and we had stopped spending the ads like immediately and kind of
yeah.
waited till they figured that out. But so we didn't lose on that. But it was I'm watching it too carefully. But
All
it's
right.
interesting because
So
this is kind of following 4 years later. You know, it's kind of following that
yeah,
another move to protect minors online, which I think is interesting because people in general, if we're getting together to
hold
do
on a second.
something.
Hold on a second. I got this for Christmas. My little
Oh,
gavel.
geez. Oh no.
You're out of time,
I'm
Jason.
out of time. All right. I'll try to be succinct. So people generally, when we get together, we're bound by like geographical locations. We choose our friends
Can
based
you
off,
hear that?
yeah.
Yeah,
What?
that's
No,
me
I can't
outside.
hear that. No, it's we don't want. No,
Well,
but we choose our friends
hey,
because
It's the Law and Order thing. Look,
Dun dun.
can you hear that or no?
No, no, so it's got a sound bite in it.
Yeah, it goes dun dun. The
Oh,
Law and
that's
Order.
awesome. No, unfortunately, I
The
can't
Law
hear
and
it because
Order right out.
your noise filter is filtering it
I
out.
got you. All right.
Um,
Well,
well, anyway, I'll
January
I'll leave my
3rd.
point to another time.
Yeah, yeah. To someone who wants to hear it.
Yeah, sure.
All right. What do you got in the background?
Oh, those are my son's action figures. He wanted to decorate with them, and so it's Batman, Robin, Nightwing, Joker, Riddler. They're all just kind of hanging out,
All right,
watching
good
us.
deal. And so on the right is the little toys, and on the other side is the death sword.
That's
Good, Jason.
right.
That's real
That's
good.
right. Yeah. I'm trying to mix it up. Try to mix it up.
Yeah. All right. All right. Well, listen,
Merry Christmas.
January 3rd,
Yeah.
1:23 p.m., give or take. The Buccaneers, just so in case you're wondering, can clinch the NFC South for the fourth year in a row with a win over your New Orleans Saints and or a Atlanta Falcons loss. Let's just hope for a Buccaneer win. We don't have to worry about an Atlanta Falcons loss. Brittany and I will be at the stadium cheering
Cheer
on
hard.
our Buccaneers.
Cheer hard.
Other
You
than
better
that,
come next week with a voice like mine.
yeah, other than that, I'm going to say we will see you next week, God willing.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and let's see what 2025 has in store.
You got it.
Take
Happy
us
New
out.
Year.
You too.
Reed and Reed, it's like having a lawyer in the family.